Hello all, welcome to my channel. This is Suryan. This is part 21 exception handling in C Sharp. So in this video we will discuss how to handle exception in our program. So what is meant by exception? So exception is a problem that arises during the execution of a program. So C Sharp will provide built-in exception handlings. So using try catch finally blocks. So here is the syntax of the try catch finally blocks. So what is a try catch block? So this block holds the code that may throw an exception during the execution. If an exception occurred, the flow jump into the first matching catch block. So let's see a small example to better understanding. So here I have one small program. Now I am going to declare one int array. So int array having numbers and numbers of will be 3, and I am storing 1 comma 2 comma 3. So now I am going to print all the numbers available in the int array. So what I will do here, the 0 index value is now I am going to print 0. So likewise other index values also I am going to print, and this will be 1. So here console dot read line. So let's go and execute this program. So in the output console window you can see the values of in the int array. So now I am going to print third index value. So here let's go and execute this program. So here it is throwing an system dot index out of range exception. So it means there is no value in the third index in the int array, but it's thrown an exception, it is not showing output. So let's use and try catch blocks to handle this exception. So when you type try and double type a tab, then it will create in syntax for try catch finally blocks. So this piece of code I will move to catch block. So here I am not throwing any exception. So in this the piece of code I move to try block and exception class. So as seen here, this block holds the code that may throw an exception during the execution. If an exception occurred, the flow jump into the first matching catch block. That means here this line is throwing exception, it is moving to nearby first catch block. So in the catch box what I will do, I will print an exception. What exception? So error is, so I'm going to create object for this exception. So I will use that exception dot message, what message occurred in the exception. So let's go and execute this program. So as you can see here, the value 0 index is 1 and 1 index 2, 2 index and 3, and error is an index out of outside the bounds in the array. So it means the exception occurred in the this line. So we can use the try catch blocks. So we can use finally block like this, but finally block is an optional. So the catch block, it catches the exception, and finally block is an release the resources. So what is meant by that? The catch block catches the exception thrown by try block. Here you can logging or audit the exceptions. In the finally block, this block will always execute whether an exception raised or not. Let's see that. So in the finally block, I am going to print this is a finally block. So let's go and execute this program. So this console.writeLine, I'll move to finally block. Let's go and execute this. As you can see here, the try block is printed all the values, and exception block it's thrown exception, and finally block also it got executed. So it means the finally block it executed always whether it is a exception thrown or not. So these are try catch finally blocks. Here one interesting point was we can use multiple catch blocks in our program. So how we are going to use that? So I'm going to write one more catch block here, and let's take an index out of range only x1. The C# will have inbuilt exception classes, so we can utilize the inbuilt classes. So this error is this one. So now ex1 dot message. Let's go and build this program, but it is showing an error. The previous catch class already catches all the exception of this. So it means the exception class catches all type of exceptions. So the second catch block index out of range exception, it means only the index out of range exception only it will catches this catch block. So it means it should have in sequence like the exception class, it should be always in last catch block. So let's go and execute this program. So now as you can see, now the build is successful because the exception class it is in last. So let's go and execute. So as you can see here, index out of range exception error in the outside the array. So likewise we can define multiple catch blocks in your program. So C# we have inbuilt exception classes, so divided by 0 exception. So likewise different types of exception classes available in the C#. Let's go to slides. So we can use divided by 0 exception, invalid cast exception, invalid operation exception, likewise format exception. At the last should be exception class because it will catches all the types of exception in the exception class. When you define a specific exception type, it will catches only specific exception. In the third index it is thrown exception, it is jump into this catch block, it got executed. But if suppose this having a second catch block, so here the flow will be here thrown by exception, it is jump into first catch block, it is not type of divided by 0 exception, and it is passed to second exception. So this is the index out of range exception, so it got executed and it will pass it to finally block execution. So it is not came into the exception clause. It means the type of exception it will thrown to the catch block. If it is not type is not matched, then it will second. If it is not match, then last. All the type of exception will handle in the exception class. So likewise we can use try catch finally blocks in our program. So let's go to the slides. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.